Hello and welcome to episode 3 of my winter decorating series. In episode 1, we did a makeover of the kitchen table and chairs. Episode 2, we decorated the whole of the kitchen. And this week, we're going to move on to another room, a living room, and do a coffee table makeover. And then we're going to decorate the whole room. So let's leave the kitchen, go up these steps and into a room that we called the Snug. So originally this was going to be a dining room, but to be honest, the kitchen is so big, I didn't need to put a dining room table in here. So we just use this as a cozy room, no TV, just reading and chatting. So this is the coffee table that we're going to make over today. Originally, it was a dining room table and I cut the pedestals down and dropped the height of it so I could use it as a coffee table. I'm quite happy with the finish on it. It's a bit crazy, but it's very grey and it's got ring marks on it. There's wax everywhere, so it needs some work. But first of all, I'm going to show you a tip on how to get rid of wax. Scissors, brown paper and a warm iron. I just cut some brown paper and then gently put the iron over it and the wax melts into the brown paper. Wax gone. Now the painting slippers are coming out because I want to stay cozy. It is January, it's very cold outdoors, and this is why I'm showing you a project, another project in my winter decorating series that you can do indoors. Now I'll flip the table over because I want to paint the underneath. I'm bringing out my chalk paint brushes, another one that I might use, a stirrer, a flipper to take the lid off, some spraying in case I want to spritz my brush, gloves, damp cloth, glasses because I can't see anything, and a tray which I find really useful to put everything on. We're going with Annie Sloan chalk paint Cocoa. I love this colour and I'm a great fan of stirring. You need to make sure your paints are room temperature and really well stirred. Now you may be wondering why I'm painting the underneath of the table. Well, it's because I don't want people to see an unfinished table underneath, because we quite often throw cushions down on the floor and lay in front of the fire. And I know every time I see it, I would just be judging myself that I haven't done a terribly professional job by painting the whole thing. So I just find it easier as well to get at that pedestal by flipping the table over, and I can get in and out of everywhere. And then when I turn it the right way round, I can just very easily touch up any bits that I've missed. Now I'm painting this in a way to create texture. So once I've actually got the paint on there with the big Annie Sloan brush, then I'm using like a stabbing motion on the first pass, and then as it starts to dry, I go back over it again, and this creates a lovely textured finish without having to add any sand or any other medium to it. After the first coat, I don't want to waste time or paint washing that brush because there's lots of paint still in there. So I always wrap my brush in cling film. I actually use a smaller one as well, and then wrap them up in a carrier bag, and that just stops the air getting to them. And the other thing to remember to do is put the lid back on the tin. Now the underneath is dry, I'm going to flip the table back over so I can work on the top. Now I'm using the cardboard, talk about recycling here. This is the same cardboard that I used when I did the kitchen table a couple of weeks ago. I waste nothing. This is not going to be a terribly messy job, and chalk paint, if you catch it straight away, will just wash off these floors anyway. It doesn't really create a lot of splatter doing it this way, so just with those bits of cardboard underneath for where the paint comes down on the feet, on the second coat, that's all I'm going to need to protect it. The cardboard also allows me to easily manoeuvre the table around so I can move it closer to the fire to speed up the drying process. Young Bertie is very much liking his role as ferry supervisor on this job because it's starting to snow outside and he can cozy up by the fire. I've done 2 coats now, and that's given me ample coverage. I'm happy with the texture that's been created. So now, before I start to wax, I'm going to do a little bit of distressing. This is not essential, but I've got my Merker, it's got an extraction unit on it, so it's not going to create a huge amount of mess. I am basically going to just tickle that head over the top just because I like that sort of worn, distressed look. If you wanted to do this type of sanding and you don't have an extraction unit with your sander, you could always just get the nozzle of a vacuum cleaner and as you sand, suck up the dust as you go. I'm so glad that I'm doing this as an indoor job because the snow is really starting to come down. We never get much here, but it's really cold. Okay, now I'm going on with the clear wax first. So if you haven't used the wax before on top of chalk paint, it will darken the colour slightly, so always be aware of that. I am having a little bit of a mare, quite frankly, and I'm almost going to do a diva moment because this Annie Sloan brush is shedding. It's never been great right from the day that I got it. I've had brushes I've had for years, but I am so tempted to throw it in the fire, but I'm not going to because I don't like waste. Anyway, now the whole piece is protected with the clear. I'm now going to go on with some white wax. I'm not applying it uniformly. I'm getting build-ups in certain areas and picking out hairs in others, but no, the diva moment has passed. I've calmed down and I'm just playing around with it. I've brought out my very reliable, probably 20 years old Annie Sloan brush, and this one is great for, it's really quite stiff, so it's great for adding little blobs of wax on there. All the time I'm creating texture. And remember, if you're going to try this, once you've put the clear wax on, yes, look at this snow coming down, you don't wait for that to dry. You go on with your coloured waxes whilst everything is still workable. Now I'm going on with a dark wax now. I'm just having a play around with this, just seeing if I can get more texture. The great thing with clear wax as well is you can use it almost like a rubber and a razor. So if you put too much in one spot, you can use the clear to remove it. Now I'm loving the effect that rubbing in with this rag is creating. So I am going to keep working my way around the table until I'm happy with the finish. Then I leave it to dry overnight. If you want a sheen, then 24 hours after applying, that's when you can buff it and get a nice sheen. So that was a productive day, good day's work, and it's now the next morning and this is the view from my dressing room. I've woken up to beautiful skies, but it is sub-zero temperatures, so I'm so grateful to be working indoors. Let's go down into the Snug and see how that table has dried back. I'm really happy with this effect. I don't want a sheen, so I'm not going to be buffing it. Now, normally you would really need to leave this for a good 14 to 28 days to cure, but you want to see me style it. I want to style it, so let's get on with the styling. Now the colour scheme I'm going for in here is pretty much what I used in the kitchen. So if you saw the kitchen styling video, you will have seen me go outside, look, see what colours I could see in nature, and those were the browns, greens, whites, greys. And I like those tones naturally anyway. It's what I gravitate towards, so that's what we're going to be using today. I want to create an atmosphere in here today that is calm and cozy. And I love using vintage books. I have a huge pile of them. I bought a job lot from auction for about £10 and I just got hundreds and hundreds of them. And they're so useful in design. I recoloured these items with a Plasticoat spray. It's Cafe Espresso, and on the deer head and on the bust that went onto the mantle, I just dropped some white wax on the top. I'm bringing out one of my little stone pots and a couple of old candlesticks that I've also given a faux stone treatment to. Now this is Bertie's prized possession. Bertie is a forager too. He found this shed antler on the golf course and I have never seen him more delighted with himself. I'm going to add some candles now, so to stop them wobbling, to keep them straight, I take a little dollop of this museum wax and just pop it on the bottom. These are the candles that I'm going to use. I absolutely love these battery operated candles, and best of all, they're remote control. The round mirror here was originally a clock, a broken clock that I found at auction for about £20. So I took the broken mechanism out and did a paint effect on it just with the white chalk paint, and then dropped some glass into it. Now I've got this little console table here, again auction find, not very much money. And I'm popping in one of my latest finds, which is this huge twig wreath. I absolutely adore it. Now it's going in there because I don't like sockets. Well, obviously I love sockets because I want the power, but I don't like to see them. So I like to, wherever possible, hide them if I can. I love to layer up vintage mirrors, most of which I find for about £5, generally from charity shops or in bundles at auction. People seem to always want to go for the very large mirrors, and that's where the money is, obviously in the glass. But these smaller mirrors can make such a statement piece if you keep layering them up and adding different shapes and finishes. I'm a firm believer in the fact that you don't need to spend a huge amount of money on design, and you can create the most beautiful curated home by going around the thrift stores, going around the charity shops, shopping nature, shopping what you've already got, just moving things around your house, putting them in different vignettes, in different rooms, different lights, can make the world of difference. So get creative, use your imagination, put your purse away. So as the sun shines on the coffee table, let's move over into this corner. Now, if you've been with me a while, you'll recognise that £5 table that I did a makeover on. Over here, we have this column, which I assume was a plant stand at some point in time. It's been many different colours with me, black, silver, grey, white. Then I sanded it back and put dark wax all over it, and I actually really quite love it. This piece of pottery ceramics was made by my daughter when she was just 16. Onto the little side table now. Now this is a pot that I picked up at a charity shop. I think it was on one of my shop and haul videos actually, and I've just done my stone effect on it. There's a bowl here from the Malvern Fair that is actually inlaid with bark, absolutely beautiful. And I've got my coasters, which I picked up in Wembley, Texas, and I adore them, and we use them all the time. Now, just before we dress this 8-foot sofa, it was an eBay find for £300. It's actually Duresta, and those sofas sell for about £5,000, so definitely a bargain. I just wanted to show you this shelf at the back of the room. I'm not going to change any of this because all the colours, the tones, the textures, they work with the winter decorating. And so if it doesn't need changing, then what is the point? I am quite happy with all of that. Oh, and let me just clarify, when I bought this sofa off eBay, it didn't look like this. I did actually go out and buy the fabric and have it all reupholstered. Now, for those of you thinking, oh my goodness, look at all that grey. Grey is out. No designers are using grey anymore. Well, I write my own music and I really don't care who plays along with it. I do my own thing. and I don't follow trends. If I like something, if I've paid money for it, I am not just going to throw it out. So I think grey works perfectly well when you mix it up with other colours, and particularly brown. Brown and grey I think work beautifully together. So don't listen to the naysayers, do your own thing. And Bertie's wanting to do his thing on this sofa. He's not been very happy the last couple of days because all the fabrics have been off it. And now he's just testing to make sure I've done everything in the way that he likes it. Yes, he's in major testing mode. Now, a couple of sheepskins under the coffee table, a brown cushion on the chair, and we're going to move over to this side of the room. I like to get as much light as possible into the house, so I'm going to keep the dressing of these two windows very simple. Just a large candlestick and one of the flameless candles. Another charity shop find coming out now. I think this was about £15. It's pine, but that real horrible orange pine. So I did the same effect pretty much as what I've just done on the coffee table. I used En Fleur, the Annie Sloan chalk paint, which is very dark chocolate brown, and then just finished it with some white wax. But again, I did that stippling motion on it to create texture. Let's get on to some sideboard styling now. Now, this little white box is not a stylish thing. It's just my Wi-Fi extender, and it's a bit ugly with that wire hanging there, but it has to sit there. So what I do is I use a little bit of elastic band just to wind it all up, some of the museum wax, and then just give it a good press to the back of the dresser, and it just hides that flex. So just a little tip to keep flexes out of the way. The box has to stay there because we need it, so let's just work around it. The dresser is in desperate need of a makeover, so I think that's something that might be coming soon. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you just a really quick way to elevate a lamp, to give a little bit of a refresh to a lamp. I've done these several times and I have a feeling I'm going to be doing them again very soon. I do like to wrap my flexes as well in coir because I think they just look a bit ugly otherwise. I'm getting a bit bored with the lampshade, so come down on the floor with me and let me show you a quick tip. So I've got my glue gun, scissors and some of the coir out. I'm going to remove the bulb, the ring and then the lampshade, and then you're left with this black plastic lamp holder, which is not very attractive. So what I'm going to do is actually wrap it in the coir. It's not going to damage the lamp in any way because the little bit of glue that we're going to use can easily be picked off. You can use coir, I've done them before with wire, string, ribbon, anything that kind of suits and works with your decor really. So once I've got that all into position, I'm just going to snip off the end and pop another little bit of glue on there just to make sure that it won't come away. And it just gives a different look and feel. And I'm going to finish it off with a vintage style bulb, an LED, lovely warm glowing light. And of course, without the shade, you get more light for the same amount of electricity. Now, before we decorate the coffee table, I think we need to get a little bit of greenery. This area in the corner here in this vase, I think, is crying out for some. If you've followed me for a while, you'll know that we're blessed with some lovely land here. So it's wonderful to be able to just go out and snip what you need, never take more than you need, and fill up the vases. So I've got the loppers out and I'm going to take a little snip of some yew. Yay, it's coffee table styling time. I'm going to use a big old tray that I picked up years ago from HomeSense, a copper dish that is in one of my shop and haul videos, a French jug again in one of the shop and haul videos, and another Bertie find. He found this one down in the field. This is another bowl that I found in a charity shop. I think I paid about £3 and did the stone effect on. And for a little pop of green, I'm going to use a few more yew clippings. So that was episode 3 of my winter decorating series. Join me next time for episode 4 when we're going to go thrift shopping somewhere very special. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.